There is a kind of person who never grows. They've lived through heartbreak and felt no wiser. They've failed the same way twice, 3 times, and somehow convinced themselves that luck was against them. The world was unfair. Other people were the problem. You've met this person. And if you're honest, there are moments where you've recognized a piece of that person inside yourself. The Stoics had a name for this, not stupidity, not ignorance. They called it foolishness, and they considered it one of the gravest conditions a human being could suffer. Because unlike poverty or illness, foolishness is entirely self-inflicted. And the most dangerous part? A foolish person almost never knows they are one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The moment you believe you've arrived, you've already started moving backward. Here at Stoic Inspire, we study philosophy because the Stoics were obsessed with one question: how do I become harder to break and better to be? Today's answer starts with brutal self-awareness. These are the 7 marks of a foolish mind, not to judge others, but to help you recognize and remove whatever traces of foolishness still live in you. Stay until the end. The final mark is the one most people miss. Mark 1, the blame that never ends. Think back to the last time something went wrong. Be honest. Where did your mind go first? Inward, asking what you could have done differently? Or outward, scanning for who was responsible? Epictetus was born a slave, no control over his body, his station, his freedom. And yet he taught that the one thing no one can take from you is your response. He said, if you want to improve, stop blaming others. Look inward. This isn't about pretending the world is fair. It isn't. The Stoics knew that better than anyone. It's about something more practical. Blame is a dead end. Every second you spend blaming is a second you're not improving. A foolish mind outsources accountability. A wise mind collects it, not as punishment, but as power. Because if the problem is yours, so is the solution. The moment you own your situation, even an unjust one, you become the only person in the room with the ability to change it. Mark 2, the emotion that thinks it's logic. Seneca wrote, "Anger is a brief madness. The same is true of fear, jealousy, and wounded pride." When these emotions drive decisions, the mind doesn't reason, it reacts. And reactions almost never lead where we want to go. The foolish person experiences an emotion and immediately becomes it. Criticized, instantly defensive. Disagreed with, immediately threatened. Something goes wrong, the whole day collapses. They are not thinking. They are being thought by their feelings. The Stoics didn't ask you to be cold or hollow. They asked you to build the discipline of assent, the ability to pause between feeling and action. Acknowledge the feeling, then decide what to do with it. Marcus Aurelius was Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth, and he wrote private journal entries daily, reminding himself not to react impulsively. If he needed that practice, what does that tell us about ourselves? The pause between stimulus and response is not weakness. It is where wisdom lives. Mark 3, the voice that never stops to hear. You know this conversation. 3 minutes in, you realize the other person isn't listening. They're just waiting to speak again. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But there's something deeper in that instruction. A person who constantly talks isn't simply being rude. They're revealing the foolishness of believing they already hold all the knowledge they need. Wisdom doesn't arrive on a monologue. It arrives in the collision between your view and a genuinely different one. In the unexpected question. In the silence where you actually process what was said. Talking too much isn't just a social habit, it's a philosophical one. It reveals a closed system, a mind already full with no room for what it hasn't yet considered. Mark 4, the pain that teaches nothing. Mistakes are not the problem. Every Stoic made them. Every wise person in history made them. The question was never whether you would fall. It was always, what do you do after? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your interior life is shaped by what you choose to focus on. Repeat painful patterns without examining them, and you don't just make the same mistakes, you become someone for whom those mistakes feel normal. A foolish mind experiences pain and immediately seeks distraction. It rushes to forget. It explains the failure away. Then months later, sometimes years, it arrives at the exact same moment again, wearing a different face. A Stoic sits with the discomfort. They examine it like a scientist examines an experiment. Not, I am a failure, but what happened here? What would I do differently? And why? Reflection isn't rumination. Rumination circles. Reflection climbs. One keeps you stuck. The other makes you unrepeatable. Mark 5. The approval that costs everything. How many decisions have you made this month because of what someone else might think? How many words have you held back because of how they'd land? How much of your life is quietly being lived for an audience that isn't even watching as closely as you imagine? Epictetus called the need for external approval a form of voluntary slavery. When your self-worth rises and falls on other people's opinions, you've handed your inner peace to people who don't fully understand your situation, may not have your best interests at heart, and will change their minds tomorrow anyway. The foolish mind morphs to fit the room. It avoids honest disagreement not because it's considerate, but because it's afraid. It performs confidence instead of developing it. Stoicism asks you to build internal standards and hold yourself to them whether anyone is watching or not. When you stop needing approval, something shifts. You start saying true things instead of comfortable things. And true things, spoken with calm clarity, carry a power that performance never can. Mark 6. The comfort that quietly destroys. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. A body that never faces resistance becomes frail. A mind that avoids all friction becomes brittle in ways it doesn't notice until it matters most. A foolish person believes comfort is the destination. That every difficult conversation avoided, every hard goal deferred, every uncomfortable truth postponed is a small victory. But the Stoics saw where this path leads. Not peace, but a quiet, creeping anxiety. The anxiety of someone who knows, somewhere beneath the comfort, that they are not becoming who they were capable of becoming. This doesn't mean you must suffer. It means you must be willing to. The person who avoids discomfort becomes controlled by it. The person who walks toward hard things discovers the fear of difficulty was almost always larger than the difficulty itself. Comfort can be a reward. But when it becomes a strategy, it is slow erosion. Mark 7. The certainty that closes the mind. This is the most dangerous mark, the one that wears the most convincing disguise. Marcus Aurelius ended nearly every day writing in a private journal, not for publication, not for posterity, just for himself, reminding himself of principles he'd written many times before. Not because he'd forgotten them, because he understood something most people never grasp: wisdom is not a destination. It is a practice you maintain every single day, or quietly lose. He wrote, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." A mind that has decided it is finished learning has, by that very decision, sealed itself off from the one thing that could help it most. This mark hits the most accomplished people hardest. Because success builds a story. I got here because of what I know. And that story, left unchecked, becomes a ceiling you didn't even realize you were building. Real wisdom is inseparable from real humility, not the performance of humility. The lived version, staying curious, reading things that challenge you, treating every mistake as a curriculum. The wise person is never finished. And they are not threatened by that. They are energized by it. 7 marks. Let's hold them together. Refusing accountability, reacting without reflection, talking without listening, repeating pain without learning, living for approval, choosing comfort over growth, and believing there is nothing left to learn. None of these are permanent. The Stoics were not fatalists. They believed character was forged through deliberate practice, daily discipline, and radical honesty with oneself. The Greek word was askesis, a training of the self, not a single transformation, a lifelong practice. So here is the only question that matters right now. Which of these 7 marks do you recognize in yourself, not in others, in yourself? Because that honest recognition is already the beginning of its cure. The foolish defend themselves, the wise improve themselves. That's not just a quote, that's the entire philosophy. If this landed with you, like and subscribe to Stoic Inspire, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. The next video is already waiting. Until then, stay disciplined, stay honest, stay growing.